Automation is great for simple tasks, but in the world of enterprise, there are no simple tasks. That's what makes enterprise agents the killer app of the AI era. And Sema4.ai is the fastest path for the people who know their work best to build enterprise agents that see, act, and learn like humans. With Sema4 Studio, your team can go from idea to agent using natural language. That's because you build the agent yourself, which allows the people who know your business best to define how an agent works, preparing it for every nuance. AI agents integrate directly with your enterprise data sources and applications, allowing them to go beyond insights and recommendations into actions. Once your agent is deployed, your team can find and work with them in Workroom. In Workroom, employees can explore the possibilities with their new agent and get complex work done in an instant. With lines of business revolutionized by your new agent, you'll want to monitor what they're doing closely, which is where Control Room comes in. Control Room provides security, monitoring, and management, allowing you to see what, when, and how your agents are doing. This is enterprise AI that scales with your ambitions and evolves with your needs, ensuring you're not just prepared for the future of work, you're helping shape it.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is Tejas Venkatesh joining you live from Namma Bengaluru, and I'm excited to host you all to this launch webinar of Sema4.ai Enterprise AI Agent Platform. I will have two co-founders of Sema4 walking you through this perfect, powerful, and practical enterprise AI agent platform. The last couple of years, there have been incredible breakthroughs in AI space with generative AI and large language models, and of course, the power of creating human-like code and human-like content. And also RAG to add additional context of your business and help you with assistance. But all of these are building blocks, mere building blocks. They're almost like an incredible intern that can help you get some kind of assistance, learn from you, learn from your experiences, but not quite get your job done. We need something beyond the hype. We need something that gets your work done end to end. So today we are going to look at a platform which can help you build and test AI agents right on your desktop and run and manage them at scale securely, interacting with all your enterprise applications at scale within your own VPC. So I'm really excited to bring Suds and Paul, our co-founders, who are joining us from different cities and different time zones, who will walk us through this platform. Hi, both of you. Hi, Suds. Hi, Paul.
Hi, everyone.
So let's get started. We will start with our vision and the offering that we have in today's webinar. So why don't we get started with our vision and our story? Where did we and how did we start Sema4.ai?
All right, thanks, Tejas. Thanks everyone for joining the webinar. Just before we get started, we thought it would make sense for you to tell you where Paul and I and our other co-founders come from. We spent the last decade or more actually building some of the largest data lakes on Earth that managed about a quarter of the world's data in every industry, every geography that you can think of. So when Gen AI came along, we knew it was going to be as disruptive and as foundational as data was to the previous decade. And we also knew what it would take for enterprises to actually adopt and scale the AI, generative AI, because a lot of those lessons we had learned along the way. And we knew what worked, what didn't. And that is the platform that we set out to build. That's the platform we will be talking to you about. And this platform is the culmination of a decade plus of working in the data and AI space for us. All right. All right. So as you saw in that ad, right before we went live, we do believe that enterprise agents are the killer app of this AI era. Now, what makes them different from bespoke programs is their ability to actually automate knowledge work, right? And think of enterprise AI agents as complex work as a service. And in order to do that, they need to understand the work. And that, for most humans, it means understanding the data, understanding complex documents, and then interacting with the real world. The real world is essentially all of the enterprise applications that you work with, whether it's Salesforce, SAP, HubSpot, you name it. So you have to be able to understand the work, you have to be able to do the work, and you have to be able to do it accurately and securely, right? And that's really the promise of what this next generation offers us. And that's what we are trying to bring to life here. Okay, so when it comes to agents, which is really what this platform is all about, we offer two different kinds of agents. Think of the first one as the conversational agent, and we'll get into more details on this as we go through. You have the conversational agent. That is an agent that works with you to get things done. And then you have the worker agent. Think of that as the agent who works for you and knows how to get things done on its own, reaching out back only for escalations or approvals and so on. And if you look at any Fortune 500 enterprise, you will see that there is a lot of knowledge work that happens across the board, be it HR, legal, office of the CFO, whether it's operational dashboards and manufacturing and so on. So you need an agent capability that can be deployed in all of these knowledge work scenarios. So what are some of the characteristics that it takes? First is, this is not like chat with your LLM kind of software. These agents are defined in English, which means that you can continually improve them. They have an understanding of the enterprise, understanding the applications, the data, and the documents. And this is what allows them to be accurate and allows them to do the work, right? They have to be autonomous. There will be many cases where you actually work alongside agents, but if you want to truly, reap the benefits of having AI agents, you need them to be autonomous and working 24/7. With something as disruptive as this, it's important that we are able to see, for audit purposes, for confidence purposes, how they make the decisions that they make. So having the reasoning be available to us at all times now, and for posterity, it's important to do that. Some things never change in the enterprise, which is the need for security, observability, governance, auditability, and that is true for AI agents as well. And that is, the platform that we've built, that we will show you in a few minutes here, encompasses all of this. All right, so it's a fair question to ask. So where do we fit, right? So if you look at the dimensions here, you've had developers building apps for business users forever, and you had bespoke applications, and then you have things that actually do custom work. So if you look at those applications, we find that there are developer frameworks, both AI frameworks and non-AI frameworks that can be used to actually do custom work, right? But you're primarily working with developers to do the work. If you move over to the left, you find the pure automation tools. And there is a class of problems that you can automate with your automation tools, like RPA automation, something we are familiar with as well. But that work has to be predefined. It actually has to have very little variance in the way it's done. Some of that work, as you move further up the chain, you're saying that now those are being taken up by agents. You've seen a lot of agent personas that actually have started to pop out in the last few months. These are point solutions that do one thing and use reasoning to actually do them. And then you come to the enterprise AI agents, which sits at the intersection of allowing business users to do custom work, right? And so there are two personas involved here. One is the business user who knows how the work is done. And that persona needs to be able to build agents. The agents need to have hands and feet to actually connect them to the enterprise and to be able to take action. That's where the developer persona comes in, and we offer tools that support the full life cycle, and we show you all of that. So that's where we fit in this emerging ecosystem of AI agents. All right. So in terms of what we want, what are some of the ideal design patterns for Sema4 AI agents as you think about this? Complex domain specific work. Now, why complex and why domain specific? Because you need to have an understanding of documents. You need to have an understanding of the process flow. And as an example, we have an energy company that actually uses these worker agents to reconcile invoices that come from thousands of suppliers that come in their own different formats and so on. So complex domain specific work is a good pattern for this. Automating work across teams and systems. Here, the idea is that you have to be able to interpret data from multiple systems, and you have to make some judgment calls. That's the second one. As an example, we have somebody trying to optimize inventory allocation. And the last one is actually one of my favorites. Like, if you've ever flown a low-cost airline, everything from the plane to the peanuts to the airline to the pilots and so on have to come together in real time in order to actually make decisions. So, to get that flight off the ground. So being able to make logistics decisions requires you to span analytic operational data sources. So that's another pattern where you have work happening 24/7, 365 that sits across multiple data silos that you need to work. Now, to show you the platform, let me turn it over to Paul, my co-founder and friend, who has been working with me for the last 9 months to make this thing happen.
Awesome. Thank you, Suds. And apologies for my voice. I'm just getting over a pretty bad flu. So I will do my best to get through this without losing my voice. So hey, everyone, we're really excited to share the platform that we built with you all. Over the next probably 20 minutes, I'm going to talk through some of the key components. We'll walk through each of the individual steps, and I'll be able to show the product and just give you a sense for what we built and what we're excited about. So I'm going to start really quickly by going through what are the kind of key stages in the AI agent lifecycle. And we'll start with building the agents themselves. For this, we really wanted to empower the business users themselves. Like we had mentioned, the people who know the business problem and their data best to be able to really quickly be able to build these agents. And for that, we have a component called Studio, which I'll show you briefly. The other component is how do we make sure those agents can effectively connect to the rest of the enterprise? This could be enterprise applications like Salesforce, Google Workspace, SharePoint, or it could be data, things like Snowflake, Redshift, and others. We need to make sure that we put the right tools in the hands of the developer to be able to effectively connect those agents to the often very customized instances of those applications and data that you have within the enterprise. And those are the two key components that we have to help customers build agents. But once you've built the agent, it's really important to be able to have really solid governance around how do you get that agent into production, running in your infrastructure, and you keep it running in production, over time. I'm talking about things like upgrades, downgrades, telemetry, logging, audit. How do you make sure you fully understand how that agent is operating in production? And for that, we really want to empower our AI operator, the person who's really charged with making sure the fleet of agents across our enterprise are in a healthy state and they can control every step of the way from development to testing and promotion. And for that, we have a Sema4 control room. The last step is how do you make sure that we can share these agents with the rest of the enterprise, right? And the key thing is if you build an agent, that's great for you, but you want to be able to share that with the rest of your team, with the rest of your project group or your enterprise. And for that, we have Workroom. It's a purpose-built user interface just for business users to be able to log in, quickly find all the different agents that they have access to, and start interacting with those agents. It can be a conversational agent that can have a conversation with, chat to go through the process of completing work, or it can be overseeing a fleet of worker agents that are really focused on end-to-end automated work, only really reaching out when they need human intervention. And so our goal is to be able to provide the entire lifecycle that works with the LLMs that you're using today, things like AWS Bedrock, OpenAI, or Microsoft Azure OpenAI, all running in your VPC. This is really important to us. Yeah, Susan mentioned, our kind of enterprise pedigree and background. As we spend a lot of time trying to deploy really complex components into our customers' accounts. And so we put a lot of thought into our architecture to make sure it runs in your VPC with you having full control over your data and your compute and using your data, the lifeblood of your enterprise. So what we'll do now is we'll just kind of walk through a couple of different components. I'll talk about what we're going to see, and then I'll show it to you live. So Sema4 Studio is really where everything begins. Our goal here is to get you from an idea that you have to an agent in just a few minutes. So really focused on, hey, there's a business process I want to actually automate. There's a problem that I want to have an agent be able to take end to end. That's where things start in Studio. One of the key components to Studio is our natural language runbooks. For us, it was really important to kind of lower the barrier of entry for people to be able to create agents and really enable them to just use plain English to be able to describe, hey, this is what I want my agent to do. These are the steps I need to follow. These are the guardrails. This is how I want to present information. And for that, we have runbooks. Actions are really what connect those agents to the rest of the enterprise. And we have a whole gallery of actions that we'll take a look at in a moment that allow you to connect your agents to common enterprise applications without having to write any code. Runbooks, like I mentioned, are really kind of like the heart of the agent. It is what tells the agent how it should operate, what it should do, what information it needs, and what steps it needs to take. And so we'll take a look at a runbook editor, which enables you to really quickly be able to create these runbooks using templates, version control them, handle formatting, and the works. And lastly, your action gallery is where you can see all the different pre-built actions that we have today that, like I said, enable you to really connect agents to the rest of your enterprise. So now we'll quickly take a look at the product. I'm just going to go over to Studio here real quick. Studio is available for Mac and Windows. It runs directly on your laptop. It gives you direct line of sight access to the enterprise systems you use today. And we'll start with just looking at the process of building an agent. So as I mentioned, we have two types of agents: conversational agents, which are focused on interactive communication between a user and an agent, and worker agents that right now are really focused on automating end-to-end business processes that start with a document, like invoice processing or payment remittance. Each of these agents are configured in a very similar way. You give it a name, a description, so others within your team understand what this agent does, and then you can either import or create a runbook. Then you can choose a large language model. We support a wide array of different large language models based on whatever your enterprise standard is. It's easy to go ahead and set these up and just select them from the list of available LLMs. And then there's actions. So actions, you can browse the different galleries of actions that we have, from manipulating Excel files to interacting with Google Calendar, SharePoint, reading PDFs, sending Slack and Teams messages. There's a lot of pre-built integrations that we have here to make you productive quickly. So let's take a look at what a runbook looks like. I'm going to go ahead and click on Create Runbook. And here we can see our runbook editor. This is a default template that gives you a sense for what's the type of information that you put in a runbook. Our objective really handles on what's the kind of purpose and context that this agent needs to understand. What's some contextual information that it should be aware of? What are the specific steps in your process that you need to take? And then what are specific guardrails to make sure that if a user asks the agent to do something that's outside of its scope and responsibility, how do you kind of thoughtfully divert that user back to the task at hand? And then for a lot of the agents that we build for customers, being able to handle and work with data is really important. So be able to provide some examples of how it should respond to different requests or how it should format information. So you can use our built-in editor to change things like formatting. We have built-in version control that makes it really easy to be able to save changes, be able to revert, and version control these runbooks. So now let's take a look at a few agents, just to get a sense for, simple agents to medium complexity to high complexity agents. So this agent that we'll take a look at first is a site history lookup agent. This allows you to really quickly see how has a specific website changed over an amount of time. So in this case, we've asked it, hey, how has Sema4 changed over the last 60 days? It's going to use a set of actions that we've configured this agent to use to connect to the Wayback Machine, to be able to look at changes over time, and then use this browsing action to be able to actually go and retrieve the contents of the website, and then compare what's changed over that time period. So this is a simple example of how an agent can use actions to be able to reach out to the real world and do something important. In this case, we'll look at our runbook. Our runbook is very simple. It just provides an objective, giving us some basic information to say, hey, you're going to use the Wayback Machine to retrieve some changes to a website over a time period. Here are some guidelines on how I want you to work. And that's it. Just a few lines of natural language in a runbook and some actions. I like to put this agent together really quickly. One of the things that you can also see is if you want to get a better sense for, how did it come to this conclusion? We have our transparent reasoning feature. So on any responses from the agent, you can click on reasoning, and you can quickly see how the agent actually got to that conclusion. This gives you the full kind of history of the agent's thought process behind the scenes and how it arrived at that specific response. So now we'll take a look at a little bit more complicated example. In this case, I have an invoice reconciler. And what this allows me to do is basically process invoices for me. For this, we'll use the files capability that we've added. So for each conversation you have with an agent, you can upload a file. In this case, I'm going to upload an invoice. I'm going to ask it to process it for me. So as it's processing this invoice, we can click on reasoning and we can see in real time how it's thinking about the question I asked and how it's using the different actions it has available to it to actually reason about and help me complete my task. We can take a look at the runbook editor here real quick to see that this is indeed a much more complicated agent. We have some very specific context, very specific steps that we want to make sure it takes, how to do detailed line item reconciliation, how to format information. This is all available within our runbook. So at the end of it, we can see that the invoice has been processed. We can see that there is actually no discrepancy in this case. And if we wanted to take a deeper look, so in this case, to do some more advanced work on this agent to really understand beyond just the reasoning, how did it come to the conclusion? What are the detailed interactions between the agent and the large language model itself? We do have the ability for you to enable debug tracing. So you can click on this and open the trace of that conversation directly within Lanksmith. So you can see exactly how the agent is thinking, but also how it's actually working directly with the large language model and going back and forth with it. Awesome. So the next thing I want to show you is just our different actions. So within our action gallery, we have a wide array of different pre-built actions, but a lot of these, are really focused on how do you get access to data. It could be calendar events in Google. It could be files, within SharePoint or files within Google Docs. And for that, we want to make it seamless to be able to make sure that the person who's using the agent can authorize that agent to be able to perform specific operations on their behalf. So for example, I have this copywriter agent. It allows me to browse the web and access my Google Docs. And I've given it permission to access Google for me. So in this case, I can simply ask it to review one of my documents by name. And because I've given it permission, it'll actually go out, access my Google documents as me, read the document, and then help me out. So in this case, we can also just connect permissions. I can show you kind of what that looks like. You can hit connect, and then in this case, you just log in using your Google account. You can see the traditional kind of OAuth permissions to allow this specific agent to be able to perform operations on my behalf. So for actions themselves, we want to make it really easy for customers to be able to build custom actions. A lot of the enterprise applications that our customers want to integrate agents with are bespoke applications, or they're highly customized instances of things like Workday or SAP. And for that, we want to really enable developers to have the tools that they need to be able to build custom actions that integrate agents directly within the enterprise applications and data that matter to them. And for that, we have our SDK, which is available as an extension to Microsoft VS Code. Is a full platform that enables you to be able to use automation as code and the full Python ecosystem to be able to build really powerful automations that agents can use directly to connect to enterprise applications. Within VS Code, we have integrated unit testing, debugging, so that you can manage the entire lifecycle of building those actions. And we also have a really simple way for you to just, with one click, publish those actions directly to Studio. So we'll take a look at that real quick. I'll show you just how simple it is to use. So within VS Code, we have our Sema4 extension. This enables you to create either an action package or an agent package. In this case, I have an action package. I can give it a name, a version, a description, and then I can really simply outline what are the specific Python dependencies that this action has. We have a unique system that allows you to basically completely manage all of your Python dependencies, making them portable. So this specific action package will work the same way on my laptop, as Suds' laptop, as in production. So we put a lot of time, effort, and energy to make sure we avoid the, well, it worked on my laptop problem with this framework. So once you define the specific Python dependencies that you have, then you can go ahead and just define your action. Your action is as simple as a Python function with a decorator and a docstring. This docstring is just a natural language description of what this agent does. What parameters does it take in? What does it return back? And then your Python code. The agent itself uses this description to reason about what actions it has available to use, how and when it should use them, and how to chain them together. So the agent does have the ability to say, hey, if I want to, get customer details, if I need to use that function, it takes a customer name, so I need to ask the user for the customer name. All that's communicated in natural language. We also want to make it as easy as possible to be able to stay in VS Code and unit test these specific functions. So for get customer details, I can pass it a specific name in this case, and I can run it. And this will unit test that action directly within VS Code. I also have the ability to set breakpoints and do line item debugging. And this is all integrated with GitHub as well. So it's really easy for developers to be able to version control these actions. So that's a quick overview of VS Code. Like I said, we want to make it as simple as possible for us to enable developers to quickly build actions. What I'll see next is how do we actually publish those actions to Studio? So this is just a command down here. I can click Publish to Studio. That'll automatically import it into my local Studio instance. And then I can create agents that use that action to be able to work with my custom applications. The next thing I want to talk through is an extension that we've made to our SDK to make it really simple for customers to be able to access data. Any large-scale enterprise task requires deep integration with the different data ecosystem and data infrastructure you have within the enterprise. And for that, we want to make it simple to have zero-copy data access to all data in a past, present, and future. What I mean by that is we want to enable agents to connect to operational data stores, real-time data stores, and make predictions about what we think will happen in the future based on historical data. So with that, we have our Sema4 data access capability. It integrates with Snowflake, Redshift, Databricks, MongoDB. And like I said, it really enables this great capability to give agents access to enterprise data. How we've set this up is that we really want to make sure we keep it simple for people that understand the business process, understand their data, to use natural language. In this case, I could say, get the order details, see if it's shipped. And these get converted into, by the agent, specific data access functions that need to be invoked. So if this is what the business user wants to write in their runbook, we then make it really easy for the developer to configure a data source, browse what data is in it, and then create what we call named queries that enable you to really execute very descriptive, predictable SQL that you've written and handcrafted to make sure that it runs optimally within your operational data stores. We do the same thing for predictions. So if you want to be able to build an agent that can kind of not only look at historical data, but look at data that may happen in the future, or be able to create projections, we can do that with this capability too. We can make it really easy to set up predictive models that enable you to, in your runbook, simply say, hey, look, if the predicted order amount is above 50%, I want you to do something. So in the same SDK, the agent developer can configure a model, can train it automatically, and then create a prediction that the agent is now able to actually use and take advantage of. So we'll take a quick look at how that works in real life. So in this case, I have an agent that works on consumption adjustments. So I'm going to go ahead and tell I need help with a customer. And based on his runbook, it's going to ask me, okay, what's the customer's name? I'll take a look at the actions we have here. I have a range of data access actions that allow me to get customer details, get accounts, get cases, make predictions about token consumption. And the agent can identify what are the right actions it needs to use to be able to get this data, just using those natural language document strings. So it can pull back information about the customer, their accounts. And in the runbook, we basically said, hey, look, if there are multiple accounts, ask the user which one they need access. Okay. In this case, I want to see what their token consumption looks like so far this year. And so based on that request, it's going to identify the right data that it needs to access. It's going to go out and be able to access that data for me. If we want to see what's happening behind the scenes, we can look at our reasoning tab. So each step of the way, we can see how the agent's actually reasoning about the work that's doing. And it's taking a little bit longer than I wanted to. So I might check in on it in a second. Data access is important, but one of the other key things that we want to make sure that we enable our agents to do is be able to quickly and deeply understand documents themselves. As we work with customers to look at what are the end-to-end business processes that we want to enable, many of them actually start with a document. It could be an invoice, it could be an email, it could be some payment remittance. And for this, we created Sema4 Document Intelligence. So we use the latest generation of multimodal AI models and orchestrate the process of ensuring that they can accurately and deeply extract the information that we want from PDF documents and use those to make sure that agents have the ability to automate end-to-end business processes. One of the key things that we wanted to enable with this is to ensure that this is something that it would be easy for the people who know the data the best, the people in the business, to be able to quickly and easily configure new documents. So we'll take a quick look at that in a moment. So document intelligence is a capability that we've built that enables you to really deeply understand unstructured data. And so for this, we know how to make it simple to identify what are the specific attributes in a document that you want to be able to pull out, what are the tables in that document that you want to be able to extract, and then provide a visual training capability that allows you to identify and kind of lasso and mark, hey, these are specific fields and this is what they really mean to me. And then as soon as new documents land and arrive, we can use this information, process that document, extract that information, and make it available directly to an agent to be able to automate that end-to-end business process. So these are some of the key capabilities that we bring to bear to enable you to build agents. But now let's take a look at what it takes to actually manage and run those at scale. And Control Room is a key capability that we built from the ground up for the enterprise to enable people to manage fleets of agents within their own AWS VPC. We wanted to make sure that we had really strong workspace isolation. So this is a key requirement that a lot of our enterprise customers have. How do you make sure that HR, finance, marketing have their own spaces, that they're either physically or logically isolated from each other? Or how do you make sure that we have a clear dev stage, user acceptance testing, and production environment? And for that, we have workspace isolation that allows you to model that however it makes sense for your enterprise. We also have full lifecycle support for agents themselves. So you can version control agents, you can upgrade, downgrade agents, and then be able to operate them really quickly. We've also enabled all the telemetry that agents produce to be provided directly through OpenTelemetry. So if you have an enterprise standard observability platform like Datadog or Splunk, we can use OpenTelemetry to seamlessly push that telemetry to the application that you're using today. The last step is Workroom. So how do we make sure we make it really simple for business users to be able to quickly find agents that they have access to and use them? So let me go back to real quick and I'll take you through Control Room quickly. So anytime that I have an agent that I'm actually ready to publish, I can go to my configuration tab within Studio and I can click on Publish. By publishing this agent, this will publish my local agent to Control Room. So I can specify the version, I can hit publish, and as soon as that publishing is done, my agent will actually be available within my gallery. So the gallery basically shows you all the different agents that your team has published. You can see the list of all the different agents that are deployed and what specific workspace they're deployed in, along with the version. So like I had mentioned, workspaces really make it simple to isolate agents and resources by different teams or stages. So here I have like a staging environment for marketing, I have a production environment for marketing. Under the covers, I have a completely separate, pre-prod and production compute environments to make sure there's physical isolation. But I can go into finance and I can see what users actually have access to these specific agents, what agents are available. If I go into finance staging, I can see that in this case, this consumption adjustment is running, it's online, it's version 0.0.4, but there's actually a new version that's available. I can click update, and this will actually, in real time, upgrade that agent. I can also, if I choose to, I can roll that back. So if I want to actually downgrade this to the last version, I can do that as well. So we have full end-to-end lifecycle management within Control Room. You can also identify what are the specific LLMs that I want to make available to all my different workspaces and centrally manage them in one place, along with key integrations like Linksmith and different OAuth providers for different actions. So all that's available in one centralized location. But now we get to Workroom. So Workroom is where we make it easy for customers to be able to really quickly find what are the agents that they have access to. When a business user logs into Workroom, they can see the different conversational agents they have access to, the different worker agents they have access to, and they can chat with a conversational agent, or they can supervise a worker agent. Worker agents are configured to automatically look for work, in this case, documents that land, and be able to automate end-to-end business processes around them. So the dashboard shows you, at a glance what's the performance of the agent, how many work items has it been have come in, how many has it been able to take care of automatically on its own. And if it does run into an issue and requires human intervention, it'll automatically email the operator, and they'll be able to jump directly into the specific work item and document that's working on in context. So they can see, how far did they get, what issues maybe were detected. They can look at reasoning to see how would it think about the task at hand. And they can download PDFs or extracted files and change the state. So this has enabled us to be able to build really solid end-to-end business process automation for our customers, especially those who have deep document-related or document-centric business process they want to automate. Cool. So that was a quick overview of the platform. We'll, in subsequent webinars, go a lot deeper and show you some really focused use cases. But that gives you a sense for what are the major moving pieces within our platform. How do we help manage agents at scale? How do we make sure that we have a really solid collaborative environment for enabling business users to work with agents? And then all the different abilities, the capabilities that Suds has said never change: security, governance, authorization. Those are things that every enterprise needs. We bake those into our Control Room Workroom offerings as well. So what's available today? We're excited to announce that our core components, our agents, our SDK, Studio, Workroom, Actions, Control Room, Document Intelligence are all available today. The data access capabilities are going to be available in December. We can't wait to make those available, but we're excited to share the work we've done with you. And what we'll do now is I'll pass it to Suds to talk through some of the great customer testimonials we've been doing directly with our launch partners. Suds.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks, and your voice made it through. Great job. So, we know that agents have transformative potential, and we've been working with two of our launch partners, Agriculture and Energy Solutions and Emerson Electric, both, large conglomerates doing business internationally. Every new product that goes out, every new startup that releases a product will have launch partners. What is interesting about these two launch partners is that not only have they put mission critical workloads into production, they have found multiple use cases after the first one to actually go after. And the second, third, and fourth use cases, the adoption on that, the time it took to actually get it from idea to getting them ready to be dropped into production was smaller. The reason for that is, if you go to the next slide, is the approach that we've taken. Right now, of course, customer success. If you look at the last 9 months, the work that we've done in terms of getting customers over the line, we are seeing successes in energy services, industrial equipment, consumer health. Use cases where you need judgment, reasoning, understanding. Work is complex. You need structured and unstructured data. And some of the examples we talked about, like invoice processing, remittance processing, smart inventory allocation, problems that actually are common across the board, problems that you might have that you can solve today. Go to the next slide. And to help you with this, it's not just the platform, but the approach that we take to actually helping you build, test, and deploy AI agents and get to scale. The things that we look for when we get somebody into this rapid agent deployment program is find a consequential use case, because if we don't have a consequential use case, success doesn't matter much. You have to be able to actually figure out, like, once you have an agent deployed, what the value capture is. And then what you can expect from us is, and plan for production. Don't play around with toys. Too many people are doing that. What you can expect from us is, we will commit resources. We'll work with you through the process, and we'll make sure that we will get you to production. I mean, the whole point is deployment is the key word there. All right. So if I'll just go through this. We covered a lot of ground today. We've built a comprehensive platform that allows you to build, run, test, manage agents in production in a secure manner, with support for structured data, unstructured data, and so on. Right? So go try it out. Give us feedback, and we are always here to work with you to get your agents rapidly deployed into production. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you so much, Sats and Paul. It's been a very, very engaging and interesting hour. We have so many comments and questions coming in from our live viewers here on StreamYard as well as LinkedIn. So I'll try to pick some of them, if not all. But thank you, both of you, for taking us through the breadth of the session. We will have deep dives. We will have deep dives into each of these products and its benefits and how do you use it. In the following webinars, we have also some customer insights, real world use cases that we are going to see, and the benefits that agents bring to your enterprise in the subsequent webinars. But to get started with, I had like quite a few comments coming from all over the world, from Texas to Bangalore to everywhere in between. I have one quick question. I think we have covered this. Came from a LinkedIn viewer. I think we have already kind of shown, but I think we should dig a bit more deeper here. Are we a no-code tool?
Yeah, I'll take that. I think for us, it's all about the right tool for the right job. And that's why, we really built Studio to be focused on how do we enable the people who know the business process best, the business user, to be able to create an agent quickly, just using natural language, using our runbooks. So for them, we want them to say, okay, what do I want this agent to do? Let me just write it down step by step. So for the business user, it's a no-code experience. But the reality is every enterprise is highly customized and unique. And so there's always going to be probably a situation where you're going to have some custom application, some ERP over in a corner, some different app that you need to be able to quickly connect that agent with. And that's really where we want to enable the developer with the right tools. So there we have a full, automation as code, Python-based automation framework that gives them the tools that they want to use, VS Code, Python, to be able to create those custom actions. So that's an important, I would say, differentiator that I want to make sure we mention is right tool for the right job. Business people playing, natural language, developers, Python, VS Code, what they care about the most.
Cool. But is it business users first, or is it the developers first?
Yeah, I think what we found is we business user first, and I think the one big anecdote that we've seen is when customers start using this, so you have a team, a couple business people, maybe one Python developer, they can be very productive very fast. I think we were at a user conference for one of our customers a few weeks ago, and they had one of their team stand up on stage and say, hey, look, we built our agent in 30 minutes. It took us a day to be able to get that published, only because it took us a long time to find the internal documentation for the application we want to integrate with. But within 30 minutes, we had the agent up and running. And that's the type of power that we're excited to be able to put in our team's hands, and the type of flywheel that we're really trying to create here. Business people know what problems they have, enable them to be able to go solve those problems. Give developers the tools they care about most to make it happen too.
True. So there are a lot of comments like this, the one that just published on the screen, that the insights have been wonderful, demos have been wonderful, and people are excited to try this out. So how do we get our hands on the products?
Yeah. So if you go to our website, there's a try now button in which you can just give us some details about you, and then we'll basically put you kind of in a pool of folks that will be able to enable a trial download for. So go fill out the form, and we have multiple rounds, of trials that we're giving out. If we can't get to you in the first round, there'll be a latter round for you to be able to download Studio and try and give us feedback. But we want to make sure everyone has a good experience in that. And we can work with each of you as you're using it to get your feedback too.
Sure. And now we have a concrete question in terms of how the connection is built into various applications, especially the ERPs, and how the worker agents get triggered based on the data that is there in these knowledge systems.
Yeah. So we've seen a couple different integration patterns emerge, right, with these different ERPs or CRMs. There would be like a direct API integration in which you just build a custom action, within VS Code to be able to use that API. Or what we're seeing with some of these, older systems is there might be like an Excel file interchange, in which the agent actually has to produce an Excel file, upload it to a location in order to be able to affect change in like an SAP ERP, for example. So we give you the ability to do either custom actions that can do direct integration or native Excel support to be able to read and write Excel files to be able to do interchange, with different enterprise applications.
Mm-hmm. And is this also the part about the trigger? So can worker agents get triggered based on events that happens on these ERPs?
Yeah.
Or should it be scheduled, or is it, because we have seen a lot of conversational agents. The moment we think of agents in general, conversations.
And the worker agents have a flexible triggering mechanism. Today, and what's available right now is we are really tightly coupled to documents themselves. So as soon as new documents become available, as worker agents pick up the document, extract the information, start end-to-end work. In our next release, we're opening that worker agent framework up so you can create custom triggers. So it could be like a Zendesk ticket gets created, worker agent starts working, or an event happens within a database, worker agent starts working. So that flexible triggering capability is coming soon.
Yeah. Cool. That's cool. One question to you, Sats. The auditability and traceability and explainability, is that a question that is important with the customers that we have and the prospects that we are talking to?
100%. I mean, when you try to bring any technology into an enterprise, especially one that actually has the kind of capabilities as generative AI, people want to know who is doing what, when, who had access to what data did you access, when, and so on. So without that, without the audit, the security, I mean, the access control, the authorization checks, the auditability, and observability, standard observability as to what is happening in the system, most enterprises will not. I mean, the ones that are serious about actually adopting any technology at scale will not put it into production because they are putting their mission critical systems at work, either by way of connecting to those or by actually putting mission critical work on these platforms. So that is one. With AI, generative AI systems, reasoning, like why is it doing, how is it making the decision to do A versus B versus C? As Paul was showing us on the side, as why did it pick the action that it picked? Because any system that requires any kind of decision-making capabilities that is not bespoke coded into the system has to make decisions, and how you make those decisions reliably and repeatably is important for folks to know in order to build confidence in the system, and also to go back and look at why it made the decisions that it made. So yes, those are table stakes for how how these systems will be adopted and how the adoption will scale in the enterprise.
And also the question on the underlying large language models, the flexibility that we provide, and how dependent are agents to the underlying LLM models?
Yeah, I think what we've really tried to do is give customers a choice to use a large language model that makes the most sense for them. And a lot of times this will be constrained by what are the enterprise standards that they have available to them at their fingertips, right? It could be, AWS Bedrock, we support Cloud 3.5 Sonnet. For OpenAI or Microsoft Azure OpenAI, we We support GPT 3.5 Turbo, 4.0 Turbo, and 4.0, right? But we are, watching these different LLM providers closely, and as soon as they come up with new versions, we're quickly adding support. Because what we've seen is these new versions of these models, have great reasoning, better performance, and most importantly, significantly less cost. Right. So giving customers a choice to be able to say, hey, for this agent, maybe it's doing something that's really communication or writing heavy. I want to use Claude for that. And for a different agent, maybe I want to be able to just use GPT 4.0 for that, or use GPT 4.0 mini because I want to save cost. So we want to give customers the ability to choose and make kind of like an agent by agent decision based on what is the right model for that at the right time.
So it is possible to have multiple agents in the same ecosystem that uses different large language models.
Absolutely, absolutely, because the cost parameters are different. The depending on the mission criticality of what the agent is trying to do, and if you're processing a 200-page PDF document, you want to make sure that the accuracy on that is extremely high, because the cost of doing it repeatedly is going to be high, right? So it's fit for purpose with flexibility to support their enterprise standards. That's the approach that we've taken. And as more models become available, we will make the family of supported models, that we expect that to grow over time.
Sure, cool. Now, kind of a meta question on screen. So how do we as a Sema4 integrate with other multi-agent framework like AutoGen, Cloudera, and LangGraph? And how should we build this?
Yeah, no, of course. I think what we've really tried to do is abstract away a lot of the kind of gory details, from people where possible. I think, we were working with another customer and talking to their user base, and they were like, we really appreciate that you've made all the hard things extremely easy. One of our early customers had spent basically 3 months trying to build a fairly complicated agent using LangGraph, and they were able to do that with Studio in literally an hour. So they said it, they went from 3 months to, from hand coding it to 1 hour with our product. So we really try to kind of raise the bar and say, hey, look, business people, they just want to use natural language. Let's make sure they can be successful there. Under the covers, we've taken a lot of the hard work and being able to integrate LangSmith, LangGraph, and LangChain automatically, but that is an implementation detail that we don't expose to users, unless it's absolutely necessary. We do have advanced customers that want to be able to go, deep into the details and be able to create really custom agents. And for that, we have our SDK. I only showed you the actions, but our SDK also allows you to create custom agents as well, in which you go into the guts, and use those underlying agent OSs in a very extensible way. So, like I said, this kind of goes back to that same right tool, right job kind of thing. We want to enable people to go deep where possible with our SDK, but we also want to make sure we keep things as simple as possible.
I guess the short one-line answer to that would be, for most people who are using the planner, it's the second half of the question. There is no need. We've taken care of the hard. We've done the hard yards.
Cool. I think now we have like a very, very practical question. Ramki on LinkedIn mentioned that they're working with the customer to automate a manual process using RPA along with generative AI, which is a multi-agentic way. And they feel this is the right platform for them to use. How should they approach us to test if Sema4 is the right candidate for their customer?
Yeah, I think my suggestion would be go to the website. There's a contact us link. There you can fill in all the details about what your project looks like, how should we get in touch, and then we'll make sure one of our folks on the sales team can reach out, understand your project, and then be able to do, like Suds mentioned, our RAD program has been really rad. I'm just kidding. It's been awesome. It's been really helpful for us to be able to quickly engage with customers. And then within just a couple of days, we can build a custom agent with some mocked up actions, show them it working live, and then build a path to production for them. So contact us on the website. We'll reach out.
Just put this note in there, so whoever gets it knows that you came through this webinar, and you'll get the download link, and you can try it out yourself.
True. I will Ramki reach out to you on LinkedIn as well, and then make sure that you have the right links, and you can test this out soon. Cool. We still have a couple of minutes. I have loads of questions which I will probably reply back on LinkedIn comments. Before we close, Sats and Paul, any last thoughts?
You go first, Paul.
No, I was gonna say thanks for taking the time. We're excited to share this with the world, and we're gonna have a number of webinars in this series that can go deeper into specific use cases, and we'll have some customers talking about some awesome agents that they've created that have really revolutionized how they work. So can't wait to share with everyone.
What I would say is engage with us. Engage with us. Every time we talk to customers, prospects, people who want to use the product, we feel like we learn new things, and we can build a product that actually we can enhance the product in ways that meet your needs. Engage with us, and we will make sure that you will be successful in your AI agent journey.
Cool. Thank you, Sats, thank you, Paul, and thank you everyone for joining. I will hope to see you, all of you and more of you, on our next series of webinars. Please try out Studio. You can build and test all amazing things that an AI agent can do right from your desktop, whether it's Mac or your Windows machine. You can scale it infinitely, almost infinitely. I will not say infinitely when Sats is around, in your own enterprise VPC. So please do test and explore our products. Reach out to us when you have questions. I'll see you in the next webinars. Thank you so much.